Hello friends, I hope you are well. Welcome, TechManPat here. Today we are reviewing the ASUS ZenWiFi XD5 home mesh system. These puppies right here. This is a 3-pack and by golly, it's a very good piece of hardware at a decent price, 299 American dollars. So those freedom dollars are gonna get you far. But is it as good as it touts on paper? Well, we're gonna find out in this review. Huge thanks to ASUS for sending me this XD5 for review. Make sure to check out the links if you're interested to find out a little bit more than beyond this review. And let's get started by rolling the intro. ASUS touts Wi-Fi coverage everywhere, always secure, but I would rather say small and maybe a little bit mighty. So let's get into it. The ZenWiFi XD5 system consists of 3 ASUS AX3000 Wi-Fi 6 routers. That's right, these are Wi-Fi 6. Now they feature unique technologies that give you super fast performance that on paper is supposed to give you also reliable and secure Wi-Fi connections, and I can say yes, they are stable and reliable and very secure. The WPS button certainly helps and all the supposed software protection is there, but it also reminds you things like changing your admin password to make sure it's a little bit harder to guess. Now let's see what's in the box. Inside we get advanced Wi-Fi pack, a whole bunch of documentation. We've got our bricks, power bricks. It's very small, which is really good. They're only obviously a little unit like this that goes onto the wall, and a fairly long cable, it looks like. We get one Ethernet cable to connect the modem to this router. One of them can act as a router. We then have wall mounts. Because this is so tiny and light, we can actually wall mount it. ASUS, nice little logo. It's got a gap here, probably for a bit of airflow. There's no fan inside, I don't think, but there is an intake here, so maybe there is. And we've got our WAN port and our single LAN out, and I've got power there. We've got our mounts right here. There's a little WPS button, and obviously you can just hang it like so against the wall, and you'll have is space for the cable to run out down the wall. Now I prefer the pucks or the really circle ones because they look a little bit better against the wall. This will stick out against the wall, so that's something to obviously keep in mind. Now one thing that might come up when mounting these is how heavy they are. Obviously you want to mount them at the highest point in room, however it should be limited to 2 meters above the ground. Don't mount it higher than that, and don't mount it on the ceiling. In saying that, if you have a drywall or brick wall, you want to know how much this weighs. So a unit like this is around 300 grams, and that's $2.99 give or take, and that's also 10.5 ounces. You should be able to use any drywall mounts for this. It shouldn't be a problem. These 3 units can cover more than 5 rooms, 5,000 square feet and 465 meters squared, and they come with 2 LAN ports each, where one can double as a WAN port for the one that's connected to your modem. What makes these guys unique is the size. They are 90 by 90 by 85 millimeters, making them very tiny compared to other mesh devices. Now with the small form factor comes the ability to actually wall mount these units, and that gives your placement in home a bit more flexibility per se. But make sure to not mount them higher than 2 meters and not on the ceiling. Though I don't really see the reason why you couldn't, but the documentation says not to, so I don't know, don't do it. Furthermore, the size can be easily hidden away behind a pot plant, making these very unobtrusive devices in your home stylings. And they of course come in black and white as we have here. If you haven't already figured out, these devices are for those who care about style, look, and the size of this thing sitting on their shelf. These devices are small enough to be hidden away, and those people are purchasing it might not care too much about performance. So let's talk specifications. There are a couple of max rates I'm going to fly through. So the 802.11a is up to 54 megabits a second, the 802.11b is up to 11 megabits a second, 802.11g is up to 54 megabits a second. Those are all Wi-Fi 5 speeds, but of course the center of the show is Wi-Fi 6. So on the 2.4 gigahertz band of Wi-Fi 6, you're up to 574 megabits a second. Huge jump, right? And on the 5 gigahertz band, you've got 2,400 402 megabits a second shared across all devices that connect on that band. The SSID can both split the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz into two separate ones, or of course combine them and the device will pick the fastest one. To take note, the ports are all gigabit, giving you a fair go at connecting back to your internet, obviously through the WAN port, but also to a LAN device sitting next to one of these. And that's great because you're gonna need it. Since this is a Wi-Fi 6 device, we need to talk about the benefits that Wi-Fi 6 entails before we get into some of the negatives I've found. The Wi-Fi 6 protocol is engineered to cope with multiple devices, and so if you have a household full of Wi-Fi devices, this system will be able to get the fastest speed per device across all your devices. Wi-Fi 6 also uses a special target wake time technology that reduces the power consumption of connected devices by up to 7 times. Obviously, this means extending their battery life, and greater battery life is great for battery-powered gadgets that just sit around your home not doing anything until they're used. There's a lot more of those as of late, like wireless thermometers that sit in a room to let your system know that, well, you've got a certain temperature and you're trying to target that temperature for this room. Now, let's talk downsides. There is no dedicated backhaul link channel between these devices. So if you're setting them up completely wirelessly, as in nothing in between, no Ethernet cable connected back to the modem, you will need to take into account you'll be using some of the available wireless bandwidth to communicate between the devices, and then the devices that you use connected to these via Wi-Fi will be sharing that path. So unfortunately, that is the biggest downside of this device, no dedicated backhaul link. However, it does have the 160 Hz band that's very clean and empty at the moment, which makes Wi-Fi connections in general a lot faster if you've got a lot of other Wi-Fi things around the home. The interference should be very minimal on this band. Now, setup was a breeze, fully automated and via the app, powering on all the nodes, they automatically connect. So I would recommend this to anyone who isn't particularly tech savvy, just because of the ease of setup. Now, coming back to the performance, they look great, they are small, they're light, and have plenty of features, bar the top end of town things like a dedicated backhaul. So let's go through some tests. Today we will test both scenarios, if you wire them all up back to the modem, and if they're completely wireless, and what kind of backhaul speeds you can expect. And of course, make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get started. Now, the first thing I did was map out my home, and I put the test locations in blue, and I've numbered them. We're gonna go from 1 to 5, and this first test is a completely wireless setup. I'm going around with my Wi-Fi 6 enabled laptop, and I'm testing back to the local device that's connected via LAN. It should give me the best performance. Starting at number 1, we've got 153 down and 124 up. Great result. Very, very happy. Again, we're not peaking at the Wi-Fi 6 top end performance, but we're getting an amazing speed that anyone in a home using things to browse the internet would not be complaining about. If we jump to test area number 2, we got 148, 111, and again, perfect performance, very, very happy. Moving further away from the main node, we have a bit of issue with bouncing around. It'll ultimately connect to the second device or the third node, but it took a little while. Anyway, we got 65 down and 73 up, which means that over time, if you spend more time in that area, it will connect to the closest one and get a higher speed. However, just remember that backhaul system, the lack thereof it. In the test, we're just dropping down now at 37 and 47. This isn't very good, but it's still fast enough. A lot of people only buy internet that's like 25 down and 5 up, especially here in Australia, so this is still pretty good speed. Now, area 5. This is actually outside. My home has a single brick veneer inside and a double outside. When you're outside in the patio, you're getting 24 down and 14 up. Still enough to play some music, watch a YouTube video. I was actually pretty impressed that it got that far. Now, obviously, the walls do have a bit of an effect, especially if they're brick. If they are wood or just plasterboard, you shouldn't have this result, but this is my result. Now, let's look at the same scenario. However, each one of these devices will be now wired back via the WAN port to the modem, giving each one of them their own dedicated connection. So the only issue with this is which device gets picked up by my laptop and I've tried to bind it and make sure that it's always the closest one, but I did want it to be left up to the devices because you want to know how well it performs. Now obviously the house is a 4-bedroom home, so it's quite large. It's not actually large in the square meterage or the feet, but it's large enough for these 3 to be needed and give great coverage. So in the first test area, we got 98 down and 54 up. We go to the next one, we get 149 and 106. Great performance, very, very impressive. It seems to just pick and choose which one it connects to. So ultimately, what I've seen that over time, the further you get away from this node, it'll swap to the next one. So if your room is furthest out to the house, over time, you will have the connection to the closest node. Area number 3, 43 and 22. Area number 4, 36 and 45. And area number 5, which is actually outside, was 81 and 15. So that means the mesh system was easily able to figure out which connection was the best for the device that was outside, much better when it was connected via Ethernet. Now the last test I have is the speed of connection back to each device from these 2 in the locations we have in my home. Obviously, distance, walls is a factor, so keep in mind, but the performance was pretty good at 94 and 86 from the closest one, and then the furthest one away was 102 and 77. Now my guess as to why that is because this ran down a corridor with no obstructions, while this had a couple of walls. With that in mind, the backhaul performance is pretty good. Now comparing this to the other ASUS devices we've reviewed on this channel that go up to thousands of megabits a second between the 2 on the backhaul alone, they are 3 or 4 times more expensive than this one. So think of the price point here, $299. You're getting a very good performance and you'll be able to utilize your connection pretty darn well. So let's talk some other features. The parental controls, as always, are great with ASUS. These tools allow you to keep your family safe online, especially if you have young kids or you just want to make sure that your elderly parents don't click on links that lead to some viruses. And the XD5 has all those features plus more. AI protection classic has those parental controls for free for life, at least the updates are. As long as ASUS is around, you'll get those updates. And also AI protection uses Trend Micro's official database to identify and block known malicious sites. And this helps to prevent infections on your network before you even click on it. It'll block that website so you don't even see it. And that's fantastic for homes with lots of young kids who aren't necessarily trained on it. And of course, elderly who just don't generally catch it out. Now, ZenWiFi keeps your network running fairly secure, and of course there are automatic firmware updates, as is with a lot of other ASUS systems, making this system a touchless system that'll always have the best internet experience. So pricing, the XD5 can be found on Amazon, links below, for $299 American dollars, around 400 Australian dollars if you want to purchase it and get it over here. I don't think it's available at local stores yet, but it will be very soon. This is a 3-pack, and of course a 2-pack will be less. And as such, with the small size and of course the amount of these, they fit very well into a home that doesn't actually require massive gaming performance. It's for those who have a bunch of laptops, a bunch of wireless TVs and things like that that just require internet access, and this will get you there for a very reasonable price. I'm happy to recommend this to a home that has poor Wi-Fi in certain areas of the rooms, but I'm not going to recommend this to someone who's after massive performance, that has a NAS box connected to the LAN port here and wants a backhaul that's as fast as they can drop files left, right, and center at huge speeds. This isn't the product for it. It's not priced for that, and that's why I can happily say that it's for a large family on a budget that want a decent Wi-Fi system with a lot of family protection and of course ease of setup. Friends, thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts below. Huge thanks to ASUS for sending me this for review. Make sure to like this video if you did, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in another one. Bye!